Good morning, folks. This is Mr. Dan coming to you from the Landscape Design Classroom, and today I'm here to talk to you about anatomy of plants. So just what parts are present in plants and how do they function? So by understanding crop plant growth, agriculturalists can optimize crop plant growth or their cropping potential. So you need to know the structure of plants for any sort of crop. So whether it's a farm crop, whether it's a ornamental crop for your greenhouse, whether it's a flower crop, you need to understand the parts of a plant and issues that can arise with each one of those. So an understanding of plant growth begins with an understanding of plant anatomy. So understanding how cells work, tissues work, and how organs work. So the cell is basic to life. It's the basic structural and physiological unit of plants, where the chemical reactions take place. Plant cells differ from animal cells. So whenever you're dealing with anything in the horticulture industry, you're rarely ever going to deal with anything containing to an animal. So always remember that you are dealing with plants. Plant cells have vacuoles, cell walls, and chloroplasts, and lack lysosomes, centrioles, pseudopods, and flagella or cilia. So with cell wall, plasma membrane, protoplast, and organelles. And moving on to how plants grow, that's through cell division, mitosis. Genetic material is exactly duplicated. Each parent cell divides to become genetically identical daughter cells. So the reason that most plants always look the same is because they're replicated to look the same. So whenever you take a look at humans, that's because there's two people involved. There's a lot of instances in plants where it's just the plant itself reproducing on its own asexually. The process repeats many times. Moving into tissues, large groups of organized cells of similar structure which perform specific functions in the plant. So whenever you crack open the stem of a leaf or the stem of a plant, and check out some of the different parts inside, you're going to have these small green layers, and those are the tissue. So other than the organs itself, you're going to have those tissues, those walls that are kind of protecting the organs, as you say, of the plant. Found in roots, stems, and leaves. And the two generalized types of tissue in plants are meristematic and permanent. Meristematic tissues contain actively dividing cells to form new tissues, found in root and shoot tips, at nodes, and in cambium of plants. Permanent tissues, simple permanent tissues are uniform. Complex permanent tissues include conductive tissues that move water and solutes through the plant. So even if you're looking at tree bark, you're still going to have tissues involved. So don't think of it as just herbaceous. So if you peel back that tree root, typically you could even call that a tissue itself, but I kind of prefer to go underneath and check out the layers underneath that. So primary plant organs, roots, stems, and leaves. Now, structure of primary roots, this may include the taproot and or mass of similar sized branches. Penetration of soil by cell division, and root hairs absorb water and nutrients. So when we really take a look at roots, you'll see like little fibers coming off them at the end. That's actually what's sucking up the water and nutrients into the trunk. That large bark there is actually keeping that plant stable. And the deeper your root system goes, the more solid your tree is going to be in the ground. The structure of primary stems, thick-walled cells provide support. Internal water pressure shapes the plant and transport water, minerals, and manufacture food. So these thick-walled areas, they're gonna transport water throughout the plant, and the reason they're more efficient at it is because of that thicker wall structure. So structure of leaves, you have flat, broad, thin structure for light interception and penetration, or reduced light by vertical orientation, thickness, hairs, or reflective surface. So just remember the leaves take in sunlight. They're a huge part of photosynthesis. So with the leaves taking in sunlight, the roots taking in water and nutrients, that provides a good combination for the process of photosynthesis to help the plant create its own food and grow. So small pores take in carbon dioxide and release oxygen. And two cell layers, the upper layer for photosynthesis and the lower layer with spongy tissue. So two kinds of growth here: primary, young herbaceous growth in roots and shoots, and secondary, increased girth, woody tissues. So your primary growth is going to be what you're going to see a little bit more short term. So that's like leaves coming off the plants, because those are going to grow in a lot faster. Then you're going to see the secondary growth of a trunk growing wider and wider. You would have to set a camera out recording for years and years to really notice like how big a tree is getting, especially if you're trying to do that with the base of the tree. So some plants only exhibit primary growth, and what you'll find is different trees have different terms of life. So if you have like a dogwood tree compared to a ginkgo tree, that dogwood's going to grow much faster than the ginkgo. So the ginkgo itself has a longer lifespan, but for something you want to see something getting bigger, you have to really look into the plant you're choosing. So but that is the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, you can contact me down the line, the landscape design classroom, and have a great day, folks.